Welcome to the Tokkio Custom Scene tutorial. For this tutorial you will need USD Composer as well as the template scene from Tokkio. Open the file named customscene.usda. You don't want to edit Tokkio Scene as that could potentially break compatibility with your Tokkio pipeline. What you see here is just an example character. Press play to see him move and you can see that this green guy can move. And if we were to upload this scene, his face and body could be controlled by Tokkio. That's what we now want to achieve for our own custom character. So first, let's delete our green friend here. Right-click on the folder called Example and select Delete. Now we need a custom character. Our pipeline is compatible with anything that uses a somewhat humanoid skeleton and the ARKit blend shapes for the face. More about those later. For now, I will just use an asset I found in the asset store. This cowboy-looking guy is made by Reallusion. He comes with a rig ready to be used in Omniverse. If you would like to import a character from Maya or Blender, you can use the Omniverse connector to export them as a USD file. When you know the character you'd like to use, you can drag and drop them onto the stage. You'll want to keep all your dependencies like models and textures in a subfolder of this one. That way you can later upload your folder to your server without any of your links breaking. As you can see, I have made my own folder here where I store all the assets I'm going to use in my custom scene. Now that our character is in the scene, we'll want to orient him towards the camera and make sure he's in the middle of the scene. Next step will be retargeting. That means adding tags to this character's joints so we can make him use the default animations. To do this, we go to Window, Animation, Retargeting. And let's drag that window somewhere more convenient. From the drop-down skeleton, we can select the skeleton of our custom character. Depending how your skeleton is set up, some of these joints will automatically be discovered right away. But if not, we can just add them manually. The head, hands and feet are the minimum required joints for retargeting to work. But to leverage animations fully, you'll want to tag the hips, shoulders and fingers too. Because this is a Reallusion character, everything was found automatically. But that might not work for your character. Maybe your fingers weren't tagged. That's no problem. If I remove the left thumb here, I can just go to the Add Tag button and select it from the Body drop-down. Then I select the matching finger joint from this list. Make sure you tag the tips of the fingers. In my case, that's joint number 3. Let's see how our retargeting is looking so far. First, I'll have to find the skeleton of my character. In the right column of the stage window, you can see the types of each prim. Locate the one of type skeleton and select it. Here we can assign an animation to our skeleton. Since we'll want our character to be animated by our streaming pipeline, we'll need to select this one named Ace Animation Target. But for now, we just want to see how our character moves. For this, we'll select the Demo animation. Now let's hit the play button and see what happens. And we can see our character moving, which is good, but there are a few issues. Sometimes his body seems to twist weirdly, sometimes his hands clip through his body, and his eyes don't move at all. Luckily, we can fix all of that. First, we'll add some custom tags to the retargeting. These are additional tags our default animations support. To see the full list, just look at what is tagged in the other skeleton in the scene. This is the skeleton of our default animations. The ones we're interested in first are chest and waist. So let's switch back to our skeleton and go to Add Tag, Custom. This created a new tag. We'll rename this one to chest with a capital C, and I'll select a joint that is this character's chest. Add another tag in the same way, name this one waist, and assign the corresponding joint. If we hit play again, the character's torso is looking a lot better. Often retargeting works perfectly fine without these extra tags, and in that case you do not need to add them. But what you'll want for sure is animated eyes. For that we'll add another 2 custom tags just like we did before. We'll call those right eye and left eye. Make sure you spell it like this exactly. Next, let's assign the 2 eye joints, and when I hit play, we should see the character's gaze change. For your character, hopefully this will already produce a good result. But this character's eyes are floating outside of his head now. That's because the joints of his eyes are not directly parented to the head joint, but instead to a separate joint named facial bone. For situations like this, we have another custom tag we can add. We'll add another custom tag and name it head2. We'll assign the facial bone to it, and hopefully his eyes will move normally now. This leaves the issue with his hands. They get too close to the body. Also, the thumbs have an unnatural angle. Let's have a look at his skeleton. Click this little eye icon in the viewport, go to Show by Type, and select Skeleton. You'll notice you can see 2 skeletons. One is our character, the other is the default skeleton, which is used as a retargeting reference. We don't have to touch that one. Now, in the retargeting window, there's something called Retarget Pose. If we hit View, I can see that my character's retarget pose is a T-pose. For most humanoid characters, the T-pose is what will produce the best results. However, because our cowboy is quite pear-shaped, meaning his hips are wider than his shoulders, when his arms point straight down, they'll intersect his body. This is a typical issue with more curvy characters. To compensate for this, we can simply adjust the retarget pose. I'll tilt up the arms a little bit to make sure they won't go down too far. I'll also put the thumbs in a more relaxed position. Now I can hit apply, and my retargeting results should look a lot better. Nice. While his body is moving now, his facial expression remains the same. For the animation to control the character's face correctly, we'll need a very specific set of blend shapes. The AR Kit blend shapes. That's a set of 52 blend shapes that are used when streaming NVIDIA's audio to face. This is what they're named in our pipeline. Now, if we click on this guy's head mesh and then expand it, we can see he actually does have quite a few blend shapes in there. The ones starting with A actually are the correct set for AR Kit, but the naming is different from the NVIDIA standard. If you are creating your own character from scratch, you can make sure the naming of the facial blend shapes matches this list. If you have no blend shapes, you can also generate them using audio to face, but we won't cover that in this video. If we want the blend shapes of this character to be found by the pipeline, we'll have to use a script. Now don't be alarmed, you won't actually have to code anything, just filling in some values. Under Window, select Script Editor, and a new window will pop up. Let's move it down here. Now we want to open a file inside of this window. In the folder Scripts, there is a script named Reassign Blend Shapes. Open it. What we'll need to do here is fill in two lists. In the first list, named Facial Meshes Prim Paths, we need to list all our meshes that use facial blend shapes. In the case of this character, that would be the body, the teeth, the tongue, and the mustache. I can see that each of those meshes have children of type blend shape. Right-click on the parent mesh and select Copy Prim Path. Now go to the list in the script and hit Paste. Do this for the other face meshes too, and separate the paths with a comma. Next, we need to do the mapping. The second list is a dictionary. In the left column, we want to put the names of what each ARKit blend shape is called in our character. So first is I blink left, and in the blend shapes of my character, I see one named A14, I blink left. I will write this name in the left column. I'll now do this for all 52 shapes, and I'll be right back. Okay, it turns out that none of the meshes actually have a blend shape for tongue out, so I'll just leave this one as is. If all of this is filled in, we can run the script. In the output, we can see that a mapping was done. Well, if this worked, we should now see the character's face change when animating. And it does. Nice. Now that we know the retargeting works well, let's click on the skeleton one last time and assign the animation named Ace Animation Target. That will allow the Tokkio pipeline to control this character. At this point, we could upload this scene. But now that the hard part is done, we can get a bit more creative. This scene is still a little bland. We can delete the prim named Scene Empty and instead build our own. This guy clearly belongs in an Old West environment. I made this desert scene earlier, so now I'll just drag it onto the stage. Also, I found this building in the asset store, and I'll place this in the background as well. To see the view we'll get when streaming, we can select the main camera up here. You'll notice that the camera has a locked sign next to it, and we can't move our camera right now. This is so you don't accidentally move the camera when editing the scene. But if we want to change the main camera position now, we can unlock it. I will zoom in a little bit closer. Then I will adjust the focus distance, so my character is in focus. I do want to make sure I don't look at my character from an angle, because when the character looks straight ahead, you want him to look directly into the camera. When all looks good, I would suggest putting the lock back on the camera and switch back to perspective. Now we have a finished scene that's ready to be used with the Tokkio pipeline, and I hope yours looks great.